Eleonora, I'm going to have you take it away and you'll be the first one to go if you want to just say what you teach and then feel free to launch into it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Eleonora Hicks. I am one of the sociology professors at BC and was invited here today to show some things about my Canvas shell. So I guess I hope you enjoy, right? So I'll get started with sharing. Okay. All right. Can you see my Canvas shell okay? Okay, good. So kind of walk you through a little bit of the student experience walking into my Canvas shell. This is the front page that they're going to be exposed to. This is my social psychology course that I'm teaching this semester. So on the first page, there's a number of different links about where to get started, how to find the syllabus, and my contact information. I vary the message on the first page. If there's important dates that are coming up, I vary those messages so students can kind of be alerted to those important things like the last day to drop, finals dates, etc., and stuff like that. There's one message that I always remain the same and it's highlighted because I try to emphasize I do have students. I require them to actually look at my weekly overview page before they can kind of move on with their assignments each week, because I don't want them to be able to just kind of like click on the assignments and not really be exposed to materials that I'm providing them in the class. So, but sometimes I have run into some confusion about that. So I try to really communicate this with students in the announcements, in the syllabus, in videos, and on the first page. So I highlight it here how they can access the weekly assignments that they need to go to the weekly introductions, which are right here below. So on my first page, you also see the welcome video. And for students who are not really so familiar with Canvas, they can also watch a short orientation video. So it's actually the weekly overview page. I'm just going to go to week 5. Actually, let's see here. Week 1, perhaps, to start from the beginning. I start with a little bit of an overview of what they're going to be exposed to in the week. And I also have an introduction video for each week, just kind of telling them what they're going to be exposed to, what kind of assignments are coming up this week. And I can also make some comments here if need be. I follow that with some Canvas tips so that students, if they're confused about how to view rubrics or how to understand deadlines, in this case here, how they can kind of like get some better tools, better familiarity with Canvas. Moving down, and as you can see, I do need to work a little bit on my pages to have some drop down functions in there. I've just experienced a little bit difficulties in already created pages to get the drop down functions to really work well for me. So I think I need to schedule some time here with Alex or the experts, so to speak. So on this page, on their weekly overview page, you should be able to access all of their materials for the week. So since this is week 1, they're going to have their syllabus, like those introductory assignments. And I also do cover chapter 1 in that first week as well normally. So they're going to be able to access the PowerPoint slides, my mini lectures. I call them mini lectures because if I click on this link here, you're going to see that I chunk up my lectures in shorter videos rather than having a very long, 1.5-hour lecture, because I'm not really so sure they're going to sit through 1.5 hours. So I'm kind of introducing them to the topic, and you can see here that I have a number of videos. I try not to have them go over 15 minutes each, but you can also comment some on videos as well. So I try to chunk things up. Now, I don't know, sometimes I know faculty are a little concerned about students being able, whether or not they're actually watching our videos. And one strategy that I have used when it comes to having students watch videos is I really like to embed the videos into the assignment. So the videos that are actually connected to an assignment, I like to actually connect those videos to the assignment. And I've seen actually a big difference in the videos in the number of students that watch the videos that are actually connected to an assignment compared to those that are not. So an example, for example, in their first discussion on this in this first week of class, I did embed 3 of the videos because they were directly connected to this assignment, and I got a lot more students, or a greater number of students who were actually watching these videos when I actually embedded them to the discussion assignment. So again, this would be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, perhaps, if I had some drop down functions in here. But I do think that that method works for me, and that's something that, you know, like I would I'm going to continue using, because I do see a big difference in the number of students who have watched the videos when I embed them in the assignment. So the student, you know, like they're kind of like every week they go back to this home page, and that kind of becomes the place where they should be working from. I do work in my Canvas courses with recommended deadlines and more hard deadlines, and I emphasize them behind each one of the assignments as well. So I do organize this page based upon, in the first week, those introductory assignments, going into chapter 1, all the material organized after chapter 1. And then if there's other assignments that are coming up in the future that they need to start to be working on, I do include that as other assignments, so they kind of become a little bit alerted about those things. And of course, they have the instructional objectives for the week and student learning outcomes as well. Sorry that I might have talked way too fast, but that's what I wanted to share with the group, was kind of my introductory overview page and embedding the mini lectures, as I call them, into assignments, because they really do think that helps students kind of connect what materials connects with what, and videos connects with which assignment.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Eleonora. Holly, did you have a question?
No, that's great. I love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Yeah.
Should I stop sharing, Alex? Or?
Well, let's see. Did anybody have any questions for Eleonora before we go on to our next faculty?
Eleonora, could you talk just briefly about the recommended deadlines, and then do you go back to those assignments, or how does that work?
Okay, yes. So this is actually something that came about when a number of us was at the online teaching conference in Long Beach a couple years ago, where we got exposed to this idea about you know, having some flexibility with deadlines, because we want to kind of assess what students know, not necessarily, you know, we want to assess what they know. And a lot of us students are struggling, you know, like with other family responsibilities and so on, that sometimes they just can't make those weekly deadlines all the time. So I practice some flexibility where I have a recommended deadline that, you know, this is a recommended deadline that I expect you to be keeping up with if you are on par with the course, right? You're not falling behind at that point. Now, I understand that sometimes, you know, a person got sick, or the kids were sick, or something happened, right? So I have some flexibility where the absolute last day that you can submit an assignment on is the hard deadline. So I have a few hard deadlines throughout the course, and most of my assignments are recommended deadlines, except for discussions. As you can see right here, the discussions are always hard deadlines every week, because it's kind of hard to participate one week and then have somebody else come a lot, you know, like a period of time later and say something. The discussion is over at that point, you know. So I do try to, it's a way to practice flexibility to account for, you know, some of the difficulties perhaps, or barriers that our students might face.
So then for recommended deadlines, do you just let them hand it in then at any time? Or do some of those recommended deadlines become hard deadlines at some point?
Yes. So for example, for quizzes and activities, I have recommended deadlines. I usually have 3 hard deadlines throughout the semester. The first one is before census date. You know, for these introductory assignments, I have the hard deadline before census date, so I can see who's participating. Then the next hard deadline for quizzes and activities and other assignments are not discussions. I have that deadline before the drop deadline, the last day to withdraw with a W. So that way, if students are not participating in the class, I can kind of protect their transcript to a certain degree so they can get a W rather than a grade that they might not want. Right? And then I have the last one at the end of the semester. And it has worked out pretty well. I would say most students do meet the recommended deadlines. And I have often had students that have said, oh, I'm so happy for, like your flexibility, because I just needed a couple extra days because there was so much that happened with work and family and stuff. So, yeah, sometimes you have to remind them a little bit that, to not delay too much. But for the most part, I think it's worked very well.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Thank you for sharing. And so Nick was asking if it's the difference between the due date and the available until date, but it sounds like not quite, but kind of. Because students don't get marked late if they turn it in after the recommended deadline, right?
Well, it is kind of considered late because that's
Okay.
what they should have been keeping up with. So it is kind of considered late, but they're not getting dot points for it.
Got it. Okay.
So there's no point penalty or anything like that.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And that there might be other faculty that are kind of have other policies, of course, that's still not considered late. But if you're not meeting the recommended deadlines, I do consider that kind of late because the hard deadline is considered an extension on the recommended deadline.
Got it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
sorry, that might have been a little unclear. That it is an extension on the recommended deadline.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Nick? I hope.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because I use a due date and then I have a available until date, sort of like I guess that's the drop dead date that you had in Canvas. And so yeah, if they were to turn it in after the due date,
yes,
sort of like that first flag, I guess, or thing, then it would mark it as late, but it records their score. There's no penalty given.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that's exactly it.
Well, thank you so much, Eleonora. I really, really appreciate it. And Bren, we'll have you go next.